Alright Reds, this is Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index, and this is a paid advertisement from BetterHelp Therapy Online. What's something you'd always wanted to learn? Remember back when you were a kid, always curious, always discovering something new. Now think about this, as an adult, do you still spark that joy of learning new things? Whether it's gardening, picking up a new language, or maybe mastering bowling to outshine your best friend, it's essential to keep that spirit alive. And guess what? Therapy can be a fantastic way to reconnect with your inner student, your sense of wonder. Because truly, the back-to-school vibe isn't just for kids or young adults, it's for everyone at any stage of life. Now, I haven't used BetterHelp myself, but I've seen firsthand how therapy can dramatically shift perspectives. It's not just about heavy issues, it's about enhancing your everyday life, learning to cope better with daily stress, setting healthy boundaries, and empowering yourself to be the best version of yourself. It's a space where anyone can benefit from a little extra insight and support. So why BetterHelp? Well, it's therapy that fully adapts to your timetable, and it's all online. Just fill out a brief questionnaire and they'll match you with a therapist. And if you feel the need to change therapists, you can switch anytime without an extra charge. How's that for flexibility? With over 5,000 therapists in the UK, BetterHelp offers a wide variety of specialists ready to help you rediscover your curiosity and tackle new challenges. Visit betterhelp.com/index today. There's a bonus. Get 10% off your first month. Remember, that's betterhelp.com/index. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp and keep on learning no matter where you are on life's journey.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
This episode is brought to you by Microsoft Azure. Turn your ideas into reality with an Azure free account. Get everything you need to develop apps across cloud and hybrid environments, scale workloads, create cloud-connected mobile experiences, and so much more. Discover what you can create with popular services free for 12 months. Learn more at azure.com. That's AZURE.com. And sign up for a free account to start building in the cloud today.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Media Matters for Anfield Index. It is still the international break, I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen, but we're looking at the positive. There are only a few days until we're back at Anfield and Liverpool play Nottingham Forest in a novel Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff. We don't get too many of those, do we? But we get a couple in a week. And I'm delighted as ever to be joined by David Lynch to talk about all the off-the-field news, internationals. And David, does it have to feel right now? Do you wish people would just stop talking from a Liverpool perspective? All the things that are coming out don't seem good, do they?
I don't know. I'm maybe not quite that negative, but I see what you're saying. A couple of things have not been sort of favourable, but it makes a change from maybe they're not quite the Luis Suarez level of going away every time and declaring he's absolutely desperate to leave. So we're not quite in that situation, which is I think it says more about where the club's at these days.
Yeah, true. It could always be worse, I suppose. And we'll get into it, ladies and gents. We'll talk about everything that's happening off the field, international wise as well, before we get into the beyond the field stuff. And probably something that's come up, let's be honest, David, sort of a very short time before we sort of come on air. So Kelleher has been answering questions in the Ireland press conference. It's been quite quite honest, some would say. I said, I made it clear in the last few years that I want to go somewhere and be a number one. The club has made a decision to get a goalkeeper, Mamardashvili, as we know, which makes it look like they've made a decision to go in a different direction. They've also rejected a few bids as well. It's not always in my hands to fully make the decision. My ambition is clear and good enough, and I want to go and play week in, week out. I suppose there's two schools of thought you could say with this one. People will look at it like, why are you saying this now, Queen? Like with international, coming back and everything going so well. The other side is fair play, he's being honest, probably nothing we didn't know. Do you find yourself on one of those sides at all?
Yeah, I think it is just honesty. I don't think this is going to be one of those situations where a key player comes out and says they want to leave and it makes you sort of think, oh, well, you're disrupting things. It's, he is the backup goalkeeper at the end of the day. And I don't think this is going to affect his performances. And I would also say that what he's saying is something that we all kind of knew as well. I mean, he'd hinted in less sort of open terms, hadn't he, with that interview at the start of the summer that he was ready to go. Wasn't sort of beating the door down to leave, but was ready to try something new. And we also know, several journalists, including myself, have reported that he was open to that idea, and also that Liverpool were open to selling him. But the key factor, as always, was that it had to be at the right price, and nobody came in, which was a surprise to me, really. I mean, I know Forest came in at the end, but the way it was put to me was that bid was almost derisory, really, in terms of not quite close to what Liverpool would expect, which was sort of something in the 25 million range. So I'm surprised nobody did reach that. I think he's fantastic. I mean, Liverpool have got the best backup goalkeeper in the Premier League, surely. And if he's that good, then surely he's good enough to start for a lot of clubs. I mean, you might feel a little bit unlucky around the Mamardashvili situation, but I think it's Liverpool getting ahead of the fact that they know that between now and Alisson leaving, Kelleher is going to go. It's not a case of Kelleher saying, I want to wait around and I'll go on a loan move or anything like that. He wants to leave. So, I think it's nothing new, really, what he said. I think it's just sort of confirming what we all kind of knew. But I don't think it's probably got any negative implications because, as I say, it is your backup goalkeeper. He's just stating something that we kind of expected. So I don't think it's like too bad or too negative a situation. It's just he just spoken very honestly, and I think fair play to him for that.
Yeah, and no doubt he'll probably still get minutes in cup games and things like that. I suppose the one thing now that, as you mentioned, it seemed that 25 million part was the figure mooted all summer. No club ever reached it for whatever reason. Seems crazy. I mean, he was Ireland's man of the match by a distance on Saturday. He made some brilliant saves. Do you think with this comment, coupled with the fact that come January, he'll only actually have 18 months left on his contract, do you think that will see Liverpool probably look to drop that price a little bit, do you think at all? Or do you think they'll stand fast on that amount?
No, I think he should stand firm. I think he's worth that. I think, the valuation that Liverpool sort of kept coming back to me and saying is, look what James Trafford went for, 19 million and he had only ever had League One experience at that point. I don't think he's very good either, to be honest. Certainly couldn't, lace Kelleher's boots. So, set 25 million for a goalkeeper you could bring in who has experience of winning trophies on multiple occasions, even as a backup goalkeeper. It has been absolutely flawless when he comes in. He's got everything you need in terms of he is a brilliant shot stopper, as he showed against England, but he's also so good with his feet. One of those rare goalies who can get involved in the little five-a-side games and stuff, such as his quality. So, it's like I say, it's madness to me that someone's not come in for that. So I don't think Liverpool should or will drop their asking price because, if Quabin Kelleher wants to go and play first-team football, which is absolutely his right, he might want to be asking clubs who are approaching his agent, well, why are you not going this high for me? I've sought your goalkeeping position out for the next five, well, more than that years, because he's still very young. So, I think clubs just need to kind of, if they need a goalkeeper, they need to book their ideas up and come in with a reasonable offer because he's absolutely worth it.
Yeah, he is a class keeper, whatever anyone says. So, yeah, we will see what happens there. And I suppose people will talk about other things that happened during the international break. We've always got that worry, as we know, injury situation. And there's a couple that are sort of, I'd say brewing's maybe the wrong word, but probably everyone's looking for a bit of answers or got concerns because Harvey Elliott was seen to have been released back to Liverpool. There was that statement by the FA, wasn't there, when it just among a list of players for medical assessment. There's been nothing further. And then Alexis McAllister, we had missing training from Scaloni, the Argentina manager, didn't we? Then they nursed him through this game against Chile. And he comes off with a knock against Chile. And then we're told he's got injury concerns. And now we're being told again that, sort of via the Argentina journalist sources, that they're trying to nurse him through this Colombia game on Tuesday. I mean, is there any updates? But should we be alarm bells ringing with these two?
Yeah, I think with McAllister, it's really not ideal. I mean, it's clearly not too bad in that if it was, he will be sent home. So I'm not too worried about it in that sense. I don't think it's anything. But I mean, if he's having to work his way through this next game and it's a tough one, and he's someone who it seems to be a magnet for bad challenges as well. I think he gets one in every Liverpool game he plays. So just because of the way he plays and his little nice touches and stuff. So. You do kind of worry about him from that perspective, but it's obviously not that bad. But I do worry that if he goes through this game and he gets another little knock on it, then you're looking at a situation where he comes back and he can't play the first game, and that is just incredibly frustrating, really, because he's already got the travel when you bundle all that in as well, and he's such a key player for Liverpool. So I don't think it's too bad, but also it's one that you could just do without him taking a kick in this next game. So fingers crossed for that one. And Elliot, kind of everyone around that, around the player and also around Liverpool, kind of keeping the cards close to the chest on that one. The talk is, and I asked about this morning, is kind of, look, he's gone back to club for assessment, and we'll see where he's up to, and Slot's going to talk about it on Friday. So hopefully nothing too bad. I mean, you can just have one of those little muscles, can't you? And maybe, I'm not massively optimistic he's going to be involved against Forest, if I'm honest, on the basis of that. But beyond that, we'll see what the manager says. But I think if it was a really bad one, you kind of tend to hear about it. So hopefully nothing terrible or anything like that. Hopefully just kind of, like I say, a little muscle or something that's going to keep him out for a week or 2 weeks. Because that's kind of frustrating, actually, because this is a good period for him now. This game's coming up thick and fast. What is it? 7 games in 21 days, I think, after the international break. So, and we haven't seen a lot of him since pre-season, so excited for this opportunity for him to get in the team as this rotation starts to build up. So hopefully nothing too serious on that one. But as I say, kind of keeping it very quiet at the moment.
Yeah, fingers crossed there's a decent news coming on Friday. We'll have to see. And other things that are off the pitch. This is one that sort of just came up on social media, and Linda tweeted this one, didn't she? All of a sudden, FSG and Netflix, all of a sudden it looked like there was a corporate PowerPoint going on, and we've had enough of corporate PowerPoints recently around players, but this is a different one. I mean, naturally people were then making leaps, and it could be 2 and 2 are getting 27. Are you taking this as Netflix have got this documentary that's been talked about for ages? Are you expecting them to be the ones that release that now?
I think if that agreement is in any way progressed, or is far enough down the line, and that wasn't, and I'm sure it is for Linda to be not tweeting that out. I think it was on Instagram maybe, and to be sharing that suggests to me that sort of agreement is there and in place. And if that's happening, surely the ideal situation there is to give them first up your documentary that you've got about one of the biggest sporting franchises that you own. That would make total sense to me. I know there's been talk about Disney Plus being involved and maybe in the bidding, and you could say they would always go to the highest bidder on that front, but I actually think with this one, if there is an agreement there and Netflix and there is going to be a partnership, then it absolutely makes sense that this goes there as the first port of call. So yeah, wouldn't be surprised at all if that one it does end up on Netflix, to be honest.
And we don't want to see any more, though, do we, after this one? Not that this will be like watching behind the sofa type of job, but I suspect Slot and no one else wants to see any more Liverpool documentaries, do they?
Well, I think he'd be even more kind of adamant against it, judging from the personality we've seen of him so far. I just don't think he's very serious and business-like at times, and I'm not sure and the only reason he managed to get Jurgen to do it was because he was leaving. So, I can't imagine this is going to become a regular feature. Especially because, as well, so many of these end up becoming memes, don't they, and moments that you get used, and you kind of don't want that. There will be some that come out of this Liverpool one, I've no doubt about it. But yeah, I'm not sure it's going to become season by season regular documentaries.
Yeah, I don't think this did Brendan Rodgers any good whatsoever. So yeah, fingers crossed it's just a one-off, and we'll see. And other things that have come out during the break. Luis Diaz, this was I would say, I think it's fair to say, actually, I was going to say a strange one. I think that's fair because naturally the contract talk is about various other players. Then all of a sudden it broke earlier this week. Liverpool were set to open talks with Diaz over a new contract, and others said maybe not there. Is there anything in this that you've heard, or is it a non-story?
Yeah, I don't believe they're opening new talks at the moment. That's my understanding, and to be honest, not surprised by that at all, because he's still got 3 years left at this point. He's at an age where he sort of doesn't desperately need to be tied down, I don't think, and also Liverpool were open, certainly earlier in the summer, were definitely open to the idea that if the right money came in, we can sell him, we can get someone else. And I know he's flying at the moment, so that seems like madness, but that was something they would have been open to doing, wasn't something they would rule out at all. So you got a player with 3 years left and you're in that situation with him. You're not in any desperate pressure to either tie him down to a new deal or sell him. So very much the vibe I was getting from speaking to people as well is that, a lot of the stories that were being driven this summer were a case of, basically Liverpool weren't shooting them down from their side because there was an openness, but also there was a feeling that some of the stories, particularly later in the summer, were driven by the player's desire to get a new contract. So I'm sure that desire is absolutely there. I don't think his wages, as Gorsty reported, actually, I don't think his wages are as low as maybe it said. But it's there's clearly desire on the player's side to get a little pay bump and extend his stay, as well as alongside that an openness as well to, if Barca had come, he would have explored that, and Liverpool very much would have as well. I think that there becomes a little bit of more pressure on the contract situation when you get to 2 years and you're at risk. You start to move closer to losing him for free, and that's where the risk gets involved. But at the moment, as far as I understand, no sort of desperate need or want to extend his deal.
It would be a bit strange as well, because there's 5 big first teamers within the 2 years, as you said as well. So you'd think priorities for Hughes, Edwards and others would be far different. So yeah, I don't think there's any surprise with that one. And you alluded to this earlier. I mean, the schedule, when they come back for Forest, it just starts that insane period, doesn't it, where it's like a couple of games a week. Funnily enough, Kevin De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva have been talking about the schedule as well, and the craziness of it. I seem to remember a certain German manager doing that and being shot down and ridiculed almost at times, but maybe that's a different thing. With everything coming up, are we just expecting Liverpool to, sounds strange, but rotate and pray a bit as well for this international break that's left as well?
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how they approach this one, actually, because, Arne Slot and Ruben Peters very much that we've already seen signs, haven't we, of how they deal with player load and very sort of adamant about, even if it's a comfortable game, is taking Trent off with 20 minutes to go, taking some big hitters off late in games just to protect them. So how do they go about this busy schedule? How do they rotate through it? I mean, we saw in the latter half a clock, we got very used to him being, making full use of what is a very, very good squad, and still seemingly being able to keep the wins rolling in. But that's a real challenge coming up for Slot, and I'm absolutely fascinated because we don't know, how big the rotation's going to be, how, which positions he'll do it in, how he's going to change things. Really, really interested. It's the same for all of us, really. We're all on this journey kind of learning about this new manager. And I think this is like one of the things that we don't really know is how he approaches this, and very difficult to predict or even, get a firm idea on from people you speak to. So, yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to all this, actually, and just seeing how he deals with it, how he gets on result-wise, of course, because the pressure's always there. And seeing him in Champions League games as well, which is really exciting because, he gets to kind of, I want to see him experience the Anfield with Champions League games and all that goes with that, and just see how he does in the competition, because we got kind of blasé about the fact that every time Jurgen Klopp was in a European competition with Liverpool, he basically got to the final. So, or in most years anyway. So, it's really interesting to see how he takes this rotation on and what that looks like.
I mean, we have literally got nothing to base this on whatsoever. It will be new. Do you have any expectations, as in he could go as strong as possible with Forest and then see rotation in San Siro, or the other way around because it's a big competition? Or is it just like no idea really how he'll do it?
Genuinely very, very difficult, I think, to measure that. I mean, you can't, how much can you rotate against Forest and get away with it? I know, they started the season really, really well, by the way. Their underlying numbers are brilliant as well. It's not just, they haven't fluked it. And I think I tipped him to one of my mates, Nuno, to be the first manager sacked. So I think I might have got that one wrong, to be honest. They've started really well. So you can't take risks with that. And I think that was, Jurgen did always used to say, didn't he? It's kind of, we try and win the first game and then see what we can do after that. We make decisions after that. We see what the load looks like, see where everyone's up to and who can play the next one. And then we make our decisions. So I think you've got to kind of approach it like that. I think that is the right approach, is go as strong as you possibly can, pick your best possible team to beat Forest, hopefully do that, and then see who's got knocks, see who's available, see who ran a lot against Forest and who you can use against AC Milan. So yeah, really, really interesting one.
And I suppose in good news, especially when that San Siro game comes around, there should be a lot of players who haven't had many minutes ready to go, like Gakpo, Nunez, Curtis Jones, even if he's not back for Saturday, which he sounds like he will be, should be good to go as well. So there is real chance of rotation there. Yeah, we'll have to see. No one's got anything to base it on as well. And you mentioned Gorsty before. He's another one talking about Mo Salah, wasn't he, this week? That was one of his pieces. I mean, we're adding Gorsty to Mel Reddy, even Fabrizio Romano keeps talking about it. Everyone, but to be fair, saying consistently that all the noises from the Salah camp, he wants to stay. There's got to be expectation now, surely, that Richard Hughes gets this done. Not an exact time, because we never know, as long as it's done by that sort of 6-month window before he can talk to European clubs, and sign a pre-contract. But the expectation now is surely on Richard Hughes.
It is a little bit, but I think it was clear from the moment Salah spoke out that he was desperate to stay, wasn't it? But I think I think he, like I said, we spoke about on this pod, he kind of showed his hand a little bit. So give Liverpool really the upper hand in negotiations there, but it's still, Liverpool can't be rash about this now. I mean, I know people are saying you got to get it done, but you have to think that, okay, so you give him another 3 years, say.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
There's risk involved in that. He's brilliant right now, and you can't imagine a future where he's not playing at this level, but that reality exists where, we're not just talking that, okay, he'll probably be brilliant between now and the end of the season, absolutely. But then another 3 years after that, will he continue to reach this level? That's the judgment Liverpool have to make. And the likelihood is that Salah will want 3. Liverpool will probably want to give him 2 maximum. That compromise has to come somewhere, or they have to, whether that's wages, a drop there, or, or Liverpool collapse on and just give in to 3 years, or Salah gives in on 2 years, or, you can't, there is risk involved in that. I don't like this idea that there's pressure on Richard Hughes because it's an absolute no-brainer. I think the last Salah contract was a little bit of a no-brainer. You had to make him the highest paid player ever, and you had to give him, X amount of years because he was worth it, and you knew he would be up until this point. There was absolutely no doubt in anyone's mind, but there is doubt now. And we've seen so many cautionary tales where that is involved, that the big contracts have been given out and then immediately regretted. So I get the argument that he's, look how good in shape he is, and absolutely he's in incredible shape, and I do think he will probably go longer than most forwards do because of that fact. But also, that's been true of Cristiano Ronaldo, but he has been dragging teams down that he's in for a long time now, despite being able to keep up the goal scoring. So you have to weigh that up. You have to be cold-headed about it, and I don't kind of agree it's all pressure on Richard Hughes, and if he doesn't get it done, it's a failure just because Salah wants to stay. It has to work for Liverpool, and we are on the outside of that. We won't exactly know what's being demanded and who wants what and how, because these are really sort of adversarial, these conversations. They do go at each other. It's not, you look at the background on the last contract negotiations, there were many points where they didn't think it would get done. So, this is very, very tricky, and I don't think it, because Salah said he wants to stay now, this is an open goal for Richard Hughes. I still think it's very tricky, and Liverpool have to protect themselves and not lock themselves into a contract that's going to damage them in the long term. So we'll see how that plays out. There's got to be compromise somewhere, and I really do hope they come to that agreement, because for me, if they could get another 2 years on 350 grand a week, I think everyone there will probably be very, very happy. I would be happy to watch him. Fans will be absolutely delighted, and I also think it protects Liverpool. But whether that's what actually happens and that's how things turn out, we'll have to see.
Yeah, I think a 2-year extension, everyone would be delighted with that, even if it's on the same money. Even one of those when they do 2-year +1 type of option, something like that.
But then, of course, the question is Mo Salah happy with that? And if he isn't happy with that, he won't sign it, and therefore, Liverpool will then have to make a really, really tough decision. And maybe that tough decision is that he goes at the end of the season. I'd like to think it wouldn't come to that, because I think Salah really does want to stay. I think he's, got his eye on getting as close to Ian Rush as possible. He's in that Premier League list as well. He seems really, really settled and happy. But I just think that compromise has to come, because the 3 years to me seems fraught with risk, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and hopefully, fingers crossed, because of the way he's speaking, because of what's clearly coming from his side, there's a willingness on his side. There's clearly a willingness on Liverpool's side, if it's right. Compromise is the key word in that way. So, yeah, we will see what happens. Virgil van Dijk, he compromised in a way we didn't want to hear, to be honest, because after the England defeat in the Euro semi-finals, he was talking quite emotionally, to be honest, David. And I'm going to back cards on the table. I was quite hopeful listening to the interview at the time, going, yes, he's going to quit. This is it. He's jibbed it, Holland. But then at the weekend, he makes it quite clear. He says, no, and he's quite honest about this. I'm a warrior. I'll always show up for my country. No doubts about it at all. Then he even goes further to say the World Cup is a target for me in 2 years' time, because that's, what he wants to do for his country. Maybe it's me seeming glib. I see it as bad news for us personally, just because of the age, the possible deterioration, almost similar themes as I was mentioning with Salah. Do you see it that way or differently?
Yeah, no, I think that's fair to say. I think when players retire from international football, you can probably get a little bit more out of them. I wrote in the aftermath of Van Dijk making those comments in the summer that, you could look at James Milner as someone who extended his career by retiring around a similar age. So, obviously he's not going to do that. He just got his 75th cap, I believe. Yeah. So maybe looking at getting to 100. I mean, that's a real possibility in the next few years. So, maybe that's kind of his aim going forward. But it's, I don't think it's great news for Liverpool. And I do also think it's something that will get factored into contract talks. I mean, he's a year older than Mo Salah. So, he's got those extra miles on the clock. He's... I always talk about his position as one way you can kind of get away with it for a little bit longer. That even that physical decline, you can kind of mask it, especially when you're a player as good as him. But I think if you add into it by playing international games, you're jetting around the world constantly to play those, it does make it a little bit more difficult. And again, it's something Liverpool are going to have to factor in as a risk, whether that's through injury or, like I say, just pure fatigue and what the miles it's putting on the clock. That is going to be an aspect that they're going to work into this. Similarly to Salah, he's someone who really wants to stay. He's absolutely desperate to stay. He wants to be captain. He wants to keep that going. He's loving his time at Liverpool. But again, like I say, it's more risk. It's an area where, okay, does that mean we say 2 years and we see how we go and we compromise and we work on that basis? It's just another little spanner in the works. It's something that Liverpool are going to have to consider when we talk about what this contract looks like.
Yeah, the to-do list for Richard Hughes does not get smaller anytime soon, or considerations. And speaking of considerations, I don't know if you know this, but the rest of the footballing world seems to have woken up to the fact that Trent Alexander-Arnold and Ryan Gravenberch are brilliant players. I mean, Gravenberch's been sensational, and maybe, again, I'm putting a sadness note on this, I get it, but Trent man of the match against Ireland. That pass for Anthony Gordon, absolutely sensational. Ryan Gravenberch as well. The way I'm seeing Ryan Gravenberch, he's that player that you expect to see compilations of after games on Twitter as he drops the shoulder, just moves around, almost Busquets-esque it is at times, but with a more physical sort of nature that way. Again, everyone in the country, even Rafa van der Vaart is praising him, and we know how Rafa van der Vaart often goes after Van Dijk and Dutch players that way as well. I'm sounding all negative, but I see it as bad news for us a little bit, because they're going to get used now, having had the rest in the summer largely when they weren't used. They're going to become key players now for their country, aren't they?
Yeah, I suppose it's further risk of injury, isn't it, while they're on international duty, which is a little bit of a pain. But you can also say, might give them a bit more confidence as well. Trent coming back from international break, not feeling absolutely terrible about it, might be quite nice. And he can really throw himself into England and really enjoy that and get something from it. And becoming a key player there again just gives him that added layer of responsibility, which, is always helpful, and it develops players. So, maybe that's a good thing. And with Gravenberch again, the fact he's been able to go away and really stamp his mark on it shows him, it's not just, I don't just need these conditions at Liverpool, I can go and do it now. And again, does that give him a little bit of belief that, I am this player now, I am going to be important for Liverpool, I'm going to be important for my country. And I guess that's kind of the hope that both of them sort of take that out of it. But yeah, it is that injury risk that you always worry about. But it can do players good, playing well for the countries and coming back with that extra confidence.
Yeah, true. And it could do that, absolutely. And I mean, there's even been talk of Gravenberch doing extra sessions with Johnny Heitinger and the effect that's having as well on his confidence as well, which sounds all great. Is there just the concern? And we know how international football works. There's no two nations who scapegoat players more. There's a history of this proven than England and Holland, because we know the way the history goes. Is that a concern as well, that they become big? They're looking like big players. It almost felt like Carsley on Saturday built it around Trent, didn't he? That right back coming inverted, Gravenberch becoming key. That scapegoat nature. I mean, we've seen it with Trent already off 5 minutes or so, haven't we?
Yeah, and I guess with Trent, it happened when he wasn't playing, so he might as well be in the team. So, like I say, and actually being involved and giving them actual good reason to scapegoat him rather than being on the bench as Kyle Walker concede 6 goals down his side in a tournament and it never gets talked about. So he might as well be playing and trying to enjoy it, and as I say, trying to take some confidence from it. And with Gravenberch, if he does end up becoming the same for Holland again, he's got a pretty good teammate there who should be able to help him out and tell him what that's about, because Virgil van Dijk's been the best defender in the world for the last 6 or 7 years, and he's been getting absolutely hammered by old Dutch legends. So it just goes with the territory, and I guess you just hope that they take more of the positives than the negatives out of it. But we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, as long as they're coming back fit and not injured, that's all we really care about deep down. So yeah, fingers crossed, touch wood, everything on that. And let's bring it back to a bit of positive, because I mean, so far the season has been brilliant. We have really got nothing to complain about. We're perfect record, not conceded a single goal, 9 from 9, so many good things. I mean, just a few questions about the season so far, because it's a good time sometimes to reflect at this point on a small sample size. There's so many who are in this, David, in this mix and potential options. Who are your best 3 players in ranking order of the season so far?
I think I'd just say my top 3 is probably, without ordering them, maybe is probably Salah, Trent and Gravenberch, I would say. Which, I mean, you're leaving out Diaz, who I think has been fantastic. Yeah. You're leaving out, so Van Dijk, obviously. Alisson's made some great saves. So it shows you literally everyone is playing well all across the pitch. I think Szoboszlai again, McAllister, literally the entire 11 that's been starting games. Canate, goodness me. So it shows you that it's a really good sign when everybody's playing well. But I think Salah just showing how important he is. I say it all the time, but will be top scorer again this season, and just having someone you can bank on to be that is just so nice. And Liverpool will miss that if he does go at the end of this season, that's for sure. Trent again really just seems to be enjoying himself in this system, doesn't he? And I think again, can we see a little bit of a step up from him now under this new manager? He was so good under Jurgen. But I do think sort of towards the end, that inverted role and the way it was being played, kind of, we maybe lost a little bit of thing. Where I think maybe in this new setup, but I hope that we'll see a little bit more, and I think we're seeing early signs of that.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of one cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.